Yeah, I have a notebook too, but I have my lineup builder on the screen. Maybe some neat house pictures and lingerie. My notebook says Yanni Gord no matter what. No, it doesn't say that. For those who are you listening, it's a joke.
All right. Yeah. Let me see if I can turn this.
There, that's as soon as you sit back, it's used like what?
Whatever. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever and wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me for the next hour to talk about Mark Stahl's 2-goal game, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
I think we're here to talk about Slim Almighty. Everything going white. The Blue Jays trade for Chapman. Jim Carrey's coming down, Bruce Almighty style, in your room. It looks like.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's I actually have Ahsoka's white lightsabers across the hallway from me. Getting back into Star Wars here heavily, so Ahsoka lightsabers in my bedroom. No, it's just some bright lights today. Bright lights for the Daz over the weekend, taking down the Fantasy Hockey World Championship. Got to shout him out again. What a great effort from him last night. Saw Snowgoon last night, finished second in the $4. Had a pretty good lineup going with, he had Winnipeg 1, added in Kyle Connor. The double defense of Josh Morrissey and Adam Fox really helped him up to a good night. Finished second in the $4.20 max for a $1,000 hit. Not a bad night from Snowgoon. I did not do so well last night. I had a fair bit of Chicago. That really didn't do anything. Also had a fair bit of
Dallas.
Dallas and Winnipeg too. But with Winnipeg too, like Pierre-Luc Dubois didn't really do a whole lot. Like Nikolai Ehlers was okay, but not great. It was really Kyle Connor that exploded on that line. So wasn't a great night for me. Got back about a third of my entries. We'll take that and we'll just move on to the next night. How'd you do last night?
Had Dallas won, so that was an early night for me. I ended up being able to swap in new Pittsburgh 1, which I was excited about. I've been yelling about Eri going up to the top line. They really didn't have a great game. I mean, Saros had a pretty good game, so it is what it is. I wasn't going to cash anyway because of Dallas won, but I'm excited that Evan Rodriguez is back on the top line. I think Rustin Malkin on the second line is definitely going to help them out. I think you needed you needed Fox, that's for sure. I think you needed one or both of the Canucks centers to win. So despite it being 11-game slate, pretty narrow, low-owned path to victory with the Canucks centers. I mean, Fox is popular for his price, but Canucks not very popular last night.
Yeah, the double center Canucks thing is actually something I do a fair bit of because they typically have 2, if not 3 centers on the top power play unit. I just was not on Vancouver last night. I was over on New Jersey. New Jersey didn't do too bad. To talk about that Pittsburgh top line, they actually played pretty well last night. Like I watched a fair bit of that game. They seem to play well. Rodriguez seems to play well with Crosby. I'm just looking at their numbers from last night. 89% of the expected goal share. Like they generated as many expected goals as the second and third line combined. So sometimes you just got to tip your hat to a good goalie like Calgren over in Toronto, the rookie coming up from the AHL. I believe it was a 35 save shutout from him up against Dallas 1. Not a great night from Dallas there. I would like to say maybe the Leafs found their goalie that they're going to need for the playoffs. But if this team is going into the playoffs riding the hopes of an AHL goalie, I think it kind of speaks to where they are as a franchise right now. One big game, Oilers in Detroit. 7-5 Edmonton at home to Detroit. I believe Edmonton got out to a 4-0 lead, and then Detroit stormed back and actually made it a pretty good game. That's why I kind of joked at the top about Mark Stahl having a 2-goal game last night. Like, I think of all things to ever happen in the NHL this season, a Mark Stahl 2-goal game is certainly up there. The problem with the Edmonton side was, like, nobody had like a massive game, right? Like, for 7 goals, you'd expect, like, you know, Connor McDavid 5-point game, Leon Draisaitl hat trick, like something like that. Evander Kane had a pretty good night with a pair of goals. Zach Hyman had a goal and a few shots. McDavid goal and an assist, but like nobody had the 3-point bonus on DraftKings. I think Evander Kane was the only one with a shot bonus. So like, it kind of goes to show that there's a very famous game for me a few years ago where the Dallas Stars, when Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn were really rolling, like 4 or 5 years ago, the Dallas Stars had a game like this where they scored 7 goals and the top line had 0 points. Like, kind of goes to show just how random hockey really can be, that you'd expect the top Edmonton Guns to absolutely just demolish a slate when the team scores 7 goals, but that didn't happen last night.
Yeah. I mean, Kane, the only one with a bonus in 7 games or in 7 goals. That's kind of silly. Like, I think McDavid was a shot short. Draisaitl was a shot short. Hyman was a shot short, and they're all sitting on 2 points. So if they got one more, they would have just completely nuked the slate. But because of them falling short in 7 goals, it didn't happen. And man, oh man, I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs, but if they are going to get run out of the building. They cannot do anything defensively.
Let's get this straight here. Detroit went in without Tyler Bertuzzi and Robbie Fabry. And I know Edmonton didn't have Puljujarvi and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins either. Detroit put up 35 shots on goal last night without their best winger and 2 out of the 4 forwards.
Best playmakers.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that speaks very well to Edmonton. Like, I looked at their block shots last night. Tyson Barrie hit the block shot bonus. Cody Ceci hit the block shot bonus. Darnell Nurse hit the block shot bonus. Like, they were selling out just to scrape by against this Detroit team when they were already up 4-0. I think Edmonton definitely has a bit of work to do at the trade deadline. I think the final game I want to talk about is that Arizona-Montreal game. I don't know when Arizona is going to stop. Like, this is, it seems like it's just spreading throughout the team now. Like, the top line was shooting 20%. They backed off a little bit. I think Nick Schmaltz scored an empty net goal, but it's really, the depth that has come through for them over the last couple of games. And one thing I want to point out is ice time. Lawson Krause started the game last night on the 4th line for Arizona, ended up playing over 17 and a half minutes, had a goal and an assist. It's just, I think sometimes even, us as analysts sometimes get hung up on line order 1, 2, 3, 4 as they're listed in, lineup sites or builders or whatever. What matters most is how the ice time is actually divided. And, the way that Arizona is playing right now, it seems like their second and third lines, we actually have to kind of consider them. What are you thinking of this team of late?
It's kind of like the Patrick Laine situation. Like, it feels bad to jump on the train now when they're shooting 30% over the last week. Like, eventually it's going to stop. It's not sustainable. You saw Patrick Laine come back down to earth the past few games. I mean, he's still scoring. Like, he hits the score sheet, but he's not like scoring 6 goals on 4 shots like he was for like a month. Like, I don't know. Like, I talked about what's his face yesterday, Schmaltz. If he's shooting the puck, that's fine. Like, he needs to shoot. Like, he's not going to score at a 20% clip, but like, if he's alive for a shot bonus, he's much more valuable because his biggest knock was not shooting. So if these guys are going to get 18 minutes, they're cheap and they're alive for a bonus. You have to consider them. I'm personally in one lineup may wait until they stop and then everyone comes off them again. And then you get them before, everyone picks back up on them. You're ahead of the trends not behind them. You know what I mean? I feel bad just like hopping on the train. It feels like I'm chasing. So I'm going to wait until they slow down for a little bit and then jump back on before, the public does.
Yeah, I agree. Really weird stuff going on in Arizona, but it's also kind of nice to see. Obviously, it's been a pretty tough season or a few seasons for them of late anyway. So maybe they can turn it around a little bit and gives their fans something to cheer about over the final 6 weeks of the season here. Before we get too much further, just want to ask the chat, if you guys could, please throw us a thumbs up, click that like button. The likes help us out, help us get to the top of the algorithm, help spread the word about this show, and click that subscribe button. If you haven't clicked the subscription for a subscription already, those subscriptions really help grow this channel. Keep these shows coming on a regular basis across many sports. MLB obviously is on the way, and click that little bell if you want to get notified whenever we do go live. We have free premium tools and data up on the site today. We do almost every day. Today is no exception. We have our NBA ownership rankings, we have our NHL player rankings, and we have our PGA golfer projections all up on the site. So whether you're playing NBA or NHL tonight or PGA a little later this week, lots up on the site to help you out for subscribers and non-subscribers alike. We're also giving away a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum through our Awesemo podcast. So head on over to the Awesemo podcast channel, leave a 5-star review with your Twitter handle or your Awesemo username, and you will be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And we also have an Awesemo bracket contest. Click the link in the video description below to enter by signing up for a YouTube membership to our channel. First place in the bracket will receive a full year of Awesemo Plus and premium betting picks access with prizes going to the other top 10 finishers as well. It is March Madness season. It is MLB spring training season. It is the stretch run of the NHL season. It is a very exciting time to be a sports fan. Just a quick answer in the chat. What sites do you use for NHL DFS stats? I mean, besides our site, I'd say Natural Stat Trick is the one that most people use. It's free to use. You can look up teams, lines, individual players, what have you. So if you want to look up some stats on your own, naturalstattrick.com would be the place to go. All right, Josh, we got 4 games we got to talk about. Let's get to the first one of these games. This is a very, very spicy game. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets with a 3.1 implied goal total. They're going into Ottawa. Ottawa has a 3.3 implied goal total. Arizona, as we mentioned, played last night. Carl Vejmelka played last night. So it should be, why was I saying Arizona? Oh my God, my brain is just not there today. Columbus did not play last night. However, they're going into Ottawa. They're facing a fairly porous defensive Ottawa team. Hasn't been good defensively for a while. It's been up and down for them through the season. I think having a healthy full lineup would really help. They don't have the depth to make up some of the injuries they have, particularly to Drake Batherson. So there is probably a lot to play up and down the lineups on both sides. The big note from the Columbus side is that Boone Jenner is out. He's on the IR. That's moved their centers up. So Jack Roslovic obviously is on the top line, Cole Sillinger on the second line. Jakub Voracek also expected back in the lineup today for Columbus. Probably should be on the third line for them, but we will see at warmups. And this is one of the early games, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck with a 0 if he's, a scratch or something like that. It is one of the first games, so you will be able to make changes. We have Columbus going into Ottawa. I think there's a lot to like here. What do you like, Josh?
Yeah, so you look at the top stacks tool, and Ottawa 1 is third in our top 2 stack percentage, and they're the cheapest in the top 3 by 10%. So it does pique my interest, but I'm not alone here. The ownership is up, and you look at the minutes from last game against the Coyotes, so it wasn't like they're playing like Tampa Bay and, they had to put their big guys out for, whatever. Norris played 20 minutes and Tkachuk and Brown both played 19. So for 16-2, getting the line I think this is a really good matchup. It's a 3 point, this is a 6.5 over under for two bad teams. So they're expecting goals. I do really like the top line here. They do have a little bit negative leverage, but it's not, you know, the biggest negative leverage spot that we have on the night. So it's not even in the top five, which is kind of crazy on a 4-game slate. But so I'm fine with the ownership if it comes in around 25%. I don't know if you need to full stack like 4-game slates. You see on these bigger slates like yesterday, the optimal lineup's just there's two guys from this team, two guys from that team. You've talked about it a lot. Like full stacking is the best way, to get your highest ceiling, but it's very rare for all three players on the line to go off at the same time. So I don't know if you need a full stack. You go like Norris, Kachuk, Chabot, something like that. You want a full stack, I think that's fine. You don't have to, but getting that line A line is a really good 5-on-5 matchup. So yeah, I do like Ottawa 1 here. You want to go down to Ottawa 2? Like, I guess they're fine, but they're over-owned as well. And I think I'd rather just play Columbus 2 than Ottawa 2 for half the ownership. And I feel like they're a little bit better line. So I'm out. I'm probably going to be out in 1-3 on Ottawa 2 if you want to have them a little bit in MME. I think that's fine. On the Jackets side, if you want to play Ottawa, or if you want to play Jackets 1, Nyquist, Roslovic, Line, I think it's another situation where you don't have to full stack here. I think you can go something like, Roslovic, Line, Werenski, or Roslovic, Line, Bjorkstrand. I think Bjorkstrand's my favorite player in this game. He's just too cheap for what he does. He's on the top power play in a good power play spot. You want to go Sillinger, Bjorkstrand, that's $7K for the two of them. Like Cole Sillinger, if you can guarantee me 16 minutes like he did last game, despite him having a hat trick, like he's not going to have another hat trick. Probably not. We'll knock on some wood. If you can guarantee me 16 minutes for Cole Sillinger, I like him tonight as well. So we'll have to see where Voracek slots in, maybe the third line. Maybe he takes Domi's spot. We don't know. We'll see in warmups. But like if Domi's up there, like that is a very cheap filler at fair ownership where I think you can, look to get in the expensive stacks like Tampa power play or Calgary power play, something like that. So I think Columbus 2 is my favorite on the Columbus side. Ottawa 1, my favorite in this game. And I think, pieces of Columbus 1 and Ottawa 2 are fine.
So I want to start with the Columbus top line because I think missing Boone Jenner is fairly significant here. Like he's far in a way their best center. And I do like Cole Sillinger and Jack Roslovic, in depth roles. But let's face it, Jack Roslovic is just not a top line center. Patrick Laine's played a lot with Boone Jenner, and I looked at their numbers like with and without. Surprisingly, I know we talk about how Laine doesn't really generate a lot of expected goals or a lot of shots. Like he relies on his natural scoring ability to score, but the scoring chances and the expected goals don't really change when he's away from Boone Jenner. All that happens is they get, a fair bit worse defensively, which makes sense because Boone Jenner, pretty good two-way center. They don't have a two-way center like him throughout the line, like maybe Sean Corrali to an extent, but he's not playing on the top line. So I think that Columbus top line is going to be a little bit worse defensively. And I don't think that's really a big surprise when you go back down from Boone Jenner to Jack Roslovic. And on the flip side, that Ottawa top line has been very good. Like you and I have talked about how Kachuk and Norris, like without Drake Batherson, it's been hit or miss with their wingers. Like there have been some wingers that have jumped up there that haven't looked very good. Tyler Ennis, I think, had a game or two there, got moved off. Zach Sanford certainly didn't play well up there, but Connor Brown has fit in well with them. That line in about 70 minutes together, they're controlling 61% of the scoring chances, generating 38 per 60 minutes, which is like obscenely high. It's only a 70-minute sample. I imagine that number might come down if we were at a 170-minute sample. But it's not like as if this is a tough matchup or anything. It's not like Boston is in town or Tampa is in town or something like that. This is a fellow bottom 5 defensive team in the league. So I'm with you. Like this is a great spot for Ottawa 1, and it is one of those spots where 2-man, 3-man, whatever you want to do, I wouldn't be overly concerned about the ownership rate here. I think there are enough ways to get different. Like when you use a mid-range lineup like that, there are a lot of ways you can get different elsewhere with your lineup. It's when you play those 21, 22K DraftKings lines, or, those 25, 26K FanDuel lines, that you're really painting yourself into a corner with, which stacks you can use, which defensemen, goalies, et cetera, et cetera. When you're using a mid-range line like this, there are a lot of ways you can get different with your lineup. I wouldn't be super concerned about ownership here. I think it's a good spot. I think they're a good line. No problems using Ottawa 1 here tonight. Going down a little bit further, I'm not sure about Ottawa 2. I think this is a case where I would go to the other side. Tyler Ennis, he's really just not had a really good year. He's a guy I generally like and thinks has been underrated for most of his career. He just hasn't really looked that good this year. He's kind of like dragging down offense a little bit. And so I would probably go to the Columbus second line instead, Sillinger, Domi, and Bjorkstrand. Like Sillinger and Bjorkstrand have actually played a fair bit together. Now, Jakub Voracek has helped their numbers look good together, but they're, Sillinger and Bjorkstrand without Voracek are still a break-even line by scoring chance and all that. And I think they can really run over Ottawa 2 here tonight. So I don't know if I'd be in on Ottawa 1. I think Columbus 1. Sorry. I think Columbus 2 is the filler line that I would drop down to in this game. I think two manning just Sillinger, Bjorkstrand is just fine. If you want to just one-off Bjorkstrand, I think that's just fine as well. But Bjorkstrand, I was looking at his numbers of late. He is generating a lot, leading the team in shot rate this month. 6.4 high danger chances individually. No other forward on their team is over 3.4. Like, he is really generating a lot of chances of late. I do like that Columbus second line going into Ottawa's depth. So Ottawa 1, Columbus 2. I think Ottawa 3 can actually even be somewhat of a filler here tonight. That line has been very good together since being assembled. I know Ottawa hasn't had a tough schedule of late, but it's not like this is a very good team they're facing either. So honestly, I would probably skip over Ottawa 2 and just go to Ottawa 3 if I was looking for some sort of stack like two-man, Colin White, Nick Paul, or something like that, if you're going with your expensive Tampa Bays or Bostons or whatever. So Ottawa 1, Columbus 2, maybe some Ottawa 3 if you really want to get different with your fillers. That's where I'm looking for forwards. On the blue line, like Zach Werenski, he's playing 29 minutes a game over his last 6 games. Like, I know like he can be hit or miss, and 7,200 is a hefty price to pay for a guy that's really not, like, he's not Roman Josi. Like, let's just say that. It's just that, that level of minutes, I think he's fine depending on the rest of your lineup. I'll say I'll probably rather just drop down to somebody like, Andrew Peeke at 3,200. He's still playing 21, 22 minutes a night of late. For Ottawa, I wrote up Thomas Chabot in the Power Plays article today. Think it's a good spot for him, but if you want to dump all the way down to like a Nick Holden, he's playing like 20, 21 minutes of late. I think that's where I go for my punts. What do you think?
Yeah, Chabot or Werenski are both good. Holden makes some sense. Jake Bean moving up to the second pair under 3K on Columbus, if you need to dip down under 3K, I think is fine. As long as he's getting, fairly consistent minutes, I think Jake Bean's fine. Zaitsev also okay on the Ottawa side. Yeah.
Don't mind Bean, especially where like Ottawa has a pretty bad penalty kill. Secondary minutes on the Columbus Blue Jackets isn't really like, oh my God, I can't believe he's getting those minutes, but it's something anyway. So yeah, don't mind Jake Bean tonight here either. We mentioned our premium betting picks channel a little bit earlier, and we have launched our premium betting picks subscription. Click the link below and subscribe to our betting picks Discord channel. Each day, Alex Awesemo Baker, Ben Raza, and Steve the Colts Buzzard use Awesemo's industry-leading projection models to identify the best potential ROI situations and provide catered snapshot betting analysis in an actionable time frame. Until March 17th, which is only tomorrow, so you better get going quickly. You can get a discount on these bets when you use the coupon code "Let Me See Those Picks" at checkout. And that'll get you full access for only $15. Now's the time to get a premium betting picks subscription just in time for March Madness. Click the link below for tonight's bets. All right. We got a really juicy game. What should be a really good game? Could be maybe a battle of future Stanley Cup finalists. I guess we'll see. Boston, 2.9 implied goal total. Going into Minnesota, the Minnesota Wild have a 3.1 implied goal total. Boston was one of the teams that did play last night. They went into Chicago, took a 2-1 win from Chicago, but it was an overtime game. Overtime game, Chicago and Minnesota, it's not far, especially when you're flying, but it was an overtime game. There are some older players in the top six. They're traveling. It's back-to-back on the road. Like, Minnesota's defense definitely has fallen off over the last 4 to 6 weeks. It's something that we have talked about. But you're still seeing a pretty healthy total on their side here, despite a very good defensive Boston team coming into town. I think there's stuff to play on both sides here, despite it being a pretty tough matchup, I think, for both teams. What do you think?
Yeah, so Boston 1's going to get that checking line, which is not a great matchup 5-on-5. The thing is, though, like, the Wild penalty kill isn't great. Marchand and Bergeron get power play time. So I think if you're going to use Boston 1, I think you do it in some sort of power play scenario. I think, the way the matchups go, Boston 2 is probably in the best spot here. I know Pasternak's expensive, and I know he played yesterday, and he played 21 minutes, but it was an overtime game. That's the most he's played in weeks. But like, he's going to get Minnesota 2, which has fallen off defensively here. So I think Boston 2 would be the line I'd go to here for the Bruins. If you want to do some sort of power play stack, I think that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of double-digit ownership on Marchand and Bergeron because, can they score 5-on-5? Yeah, it's hockey. Anything can happen. But the most likely path to them hitting the score sheet tonight is going to be on the power play. It's not going to be a 5-on-5. So do you want to play double digits, for a chance at the power? Like, Eriksson, Greenway, Foligno, best shutdown line in the NHL. It just is what it is. So they're pretty power play dependent tonight, but they can get there. So if you're comfortable with that ownership, I think you can play them in a power play stack. But for me, I'm going to go to Boston 2 here. Again, don't really mind Boston 3, like Coyle Smith. The thing is, they're going to get Minnesota 1 here. And Minnesota 1 has kind of turned things around a little bit from their, they kind of plateaued or even declined a little bit in the past 6 weeks, but they're starting to turn it around here again. Hartman on the top power play. So I think from the Boston side, it's just going to be Boston 2 or some kind of power play stack. On the Wild side, I do like that Wild top line. They're going to avoid Bergeron and Marchand. They're going to get bottom 6 matchups. They're all fully correlated. Not that, like, it's a huge deal. Boston, they're like middle of the pack penalty wise, penalty kill wise, something like that. So it's like average, but they're coming in around the same ownership as Boston 1, and they're getting a much better matchup here. They're at home. So I'm in on Minnesota 1. I think it's going to be a fairly sneaky spot for a 4-gamer. Like 9-10% is fairly contrarian for a 4-gamer. So I'm in on Minnesota 1. You want to go to Minnesota 2? I think that's fine from an offensive standpoint. I think, with their ownership coming around 8%, I'd rather just go to the top line at like 10%. It's just a better matchup. So Minnesota 1, Boston 2 for me. Boston power play.
Yeah, it's like I wrote up Ryan Hartman in the Power Plays article today. Thanks to Clayton for that compliment in chat. I did write the Power Plays article today over at Awesemo.com. Free to read for anybody that wants to read. I do them. Josh does them once in a while, I think on Mondays when we have a slate anyways. Vots does them a couple. Jeff Votler, the fourth man here at Awesemo. Awesemo NHL does them sometimes. I wrote up Ryan Hartman in the Power Plays article because of the matchups that you mentioned. When Minnesota's at home, they usually send out the usually they almost always send out the Joel Eriksson-Ek line against the opposing top line. So it'll be, Bergeron against Joel Eriksson-Ek. Then they usually send out second lines against the opposing second lines, as you mentioned. And that means Minnesota won against the bottom six. Now, I want Zig 30 to cover his ears here very quickly, but Boston 3 is not a very good line. I know it just brought him over $200,000 on Saturday night.
He can't hear you with the amount of money he's holding.
He's got like the Evander Kane money photo or whatever. But Boston 3 just hasn't really been playing well. In their last 100 minutes together, 45% of the shot share, 39% of the scoring chance share at 5-on-5. That is just really, really bad. And that is the matchup that Minnesota 1 is going into here tonight. As you mentioned, Minnesota 1 kind of slowed down, but they seem to be picking it up of late. Last 100 minutes, 61% of the scoring chance share, generating over 31 scoring chances per 60 minutes. So I'm with you on Minnesota 1 here. I don't know if they're my favorite top line here tonight, but they're at, if they're not number 1, they're certainly amongst, the top 2 or 3. Like, I really do like this Minnesota 1 matchup. Coming in with good leverage over on our top stacks tool, number 3 by leverage, 19% top stack, 10.5% ownership share. So I'm with you on Minnesota 1. I like that entire top line. Boston's penalty kill has typically been good, but the goaltending has been a little bit shaky of late. So hopefully Jeremy Swayman isn't the old Swayman that we've seen for most of the season.
Straw man. That's like joking. Sorry.
Okay. So he's been very good most of the year. That's kind of my big concern here in this game for Minnesota. Minnesota's top line is facing off against Jeremy Swayman. The Boston second line is interesting. I wrote up David Pastrnak in the Power Plays article. I think he's a pretty good play here today. One, because like his line is pretty good by, controlling the play, like possession wise. And 2, as you mentioned, Minnesota and their penalty kill problems, like penalty kill is about average, but they're in the bottom 10 for time shorthanded. So they're giving up a lot of chances. David Pastrnak, leads the Bruins in shot rate on the power play over the last 6 weeks. Like, he is their power play guy. So I think, we talked earlier about how, if you have Ottawa 1, a mid-range stack, you can kind of get a little bit different with your lineup construction. Like, adding a David Pastrnak one-off to your Ottawa 1 is one of those ways you can do it. And because they're not a super expensive stack, adding in an expensive Pastrnak doesn't kill your budget. So I don't mind a Pastrnak one off. I think the full line stack is fine, but like I've mentioned, Eric Hall and Taylor Hall just aren't good finishers. Like, I think not all the goals, but a lot of the goals will be scored by David Pastrnak on that line. So I think if I were to play Boston 2, it'd be more like of a 2-man, like Hall and Pastrnak or Hall and Pastrnak or something like that. I'd just make sure to include Pastrnak in that. So yeah, I'm passing on Boston 1. Don't mind Boston 2, especially one-offing David Pastrnak here, out on Boston 3. On the Minnesota side, in on Minnesota 1, probably out on the second and third lines. I think Minnesota 2, I don't have a particularly strong stance against them here today, coming in right on their ownership leverage. They've been fine, but I think their offensive numbers have started to slide a bit, and they're starting to make up for it defensively. I don't care about their defensive numbers. I need you guys to score. So probably out on Minnesota 2 and Minnesota 3 as well. So it's basically Minnesota 1, maybe some Boston 2 for me. On the blue line, I noticed Jonas Brodin is really starting to eat a lot of minutes for the Wild, 4,400. Maybe he's a guy that can run into some blocks or something on DraftKings. But again, at that price, you need him to do more than just block some shots. So I don't really know if there's anybody that I'm really excited about. I think on the Boston side, Forbort for some blocks over on DraftKings makes sense, but that's about it. What do you think?
Yeah, McAvoy, if you're correlating, Forbort for some blocks. Minnesota is like I guess you can, correlate with Spurgeon. He's getting up there. Like, Brodin's fine if you're in that, like, Jake Muzzin mid-range. But, like, I'm not like, oh, I need to save 4,400 for Jonas Brodin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One last thing about this game I noticed. I was looking through our ownership rates. There's not a single skater from this game in the top 20 by ownership amongst skaters here tonight. Not projected ownership by us, at least anyway. So if you're looking to get a little bit different with some chalkier stacks, this may be the game that you want to look to. We talked about Yahoo a little bit earlier in the show, and we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo. Sign up for an account via the link below. Deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, and that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's $2,000 NHL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. Good question in the chat from producer Mike. Was the dog barking or yelping for Minnesota 1 or for David Pastrnak? When did that come in?
It didn't bark. She was crying because she wants to go upstairs to hang out with Avery. But
okay,
so she was crying when we were talking about Jonas Brodin. So maybe fade Brodin.
Yeah, fade Minnesota defenseman might be the play here tonight. I'm definitely going to listen to your dog over my projections, considering the way March has gone for me so far. All right, let's get to this next game. New Jersey, 2.2 implied goal total going into Calgary. The Flames have a 3.9 implied goal total. New Jersey was one of the teams that played last night along with Boston. New Jersey lost last night, unlike Boston. They also started Nico Dawes last night, which means it's probably John Gillies in net here tonight. And Dawes had actually looked pretty good up until the game last night.
He got yanked early though too, so it could be Dawes tonight.
Yeah, they could go back to Dawes. We don't know what their goaltending situation is going to be like here. Also, Pavel Zacha got hurt pretty early in the game. He left. Now, the nice thing is like typically when a player gets injured and leaves, it leaves the team with 11 forwards, and then you'll see a bunch of mixed up lines for the rest of the game. But they basically stuck to 3 lines after Zacha got hurt. So the top line was Hughes, Sharangovich with Jesper Bratt. And the second line was Nico Hischier with Dawson Mercer and Andreas Janssen. That kind of surprised me because Mercer and Hischier just really haven't played together at all this year, whereas Hischier and Bratt have and Hughes and Mercer have. But I guess we have to go with those line combinations, considering the injury and considering, we're not going to get any information probably until warm-up. So I'm assuming a top line of Hughes, Bratt, Sharangovich, and a second line of Mercer, Hischier, and Janssen. Calgary obviously figures to be fairly popular here tonight. Their top line is coming in with the highest projected ownership rate by our top stacks tool. I was kind of surprised to see that the rest isn't really that highly owned. We don't have another line from the Flames above 7%. Biggest total on the slate. Talk to us, Josh.
So I'll start with the Flames. Flames top line minutes have gone down. Now, against Colorado, they all played over 20 minutes, but they were down late and they were trying to get back in the game. If the Flames go up in this game early, like you're going to see this top line play 17 minutes probably. And that concerns me, but like the thing is they can get it done in 17 minutes. So, despite them having 30% ownership projection, they still have positive leverage, which is kind of crazy. It speaks to how good they've been this season, and they have been very good. So there isn't really a matchup on the Devils that concerns me. And considering that the Flames send out the second line against top comp, they're going to avoid Jack Hughes. So I think the Flames top line is in a great spot and perfectly acceptable. There's plenty of ways to get different on this slate. I think you don't have to get tricky with the Flames here. You full stack that line. You know what I mean? You full stack, you can power play stack, you can add in Toffoli, you can add in whoever, really. So I'm in on Flames 1. The second line with Trevor Lewis just has not been great. And they're going to see a fair bit of Hughes. Like their offensive numbers are okay, but from a shot share standpoint and like a possession standpoint, they're underwater. So I'm not a huge fan of Calgary too. I think Calgary 3 is honestly in a really good spot tonight. They're going to see that Heischer line, but like Heischer and Mercer and Tatar, like they don't have a sample, and they're on a back-to-back on the road. And that third line, Toffoli and Mangiapane, have been good. So I like that third line for Calgary tonight, and they're not getting much ownership. I think, the lowest owned guy is going to be Ruzicka, obviously, because he's min-price, but I'm fine with the Mangiapane Toffoli 2-man, or just even include Ruzicka. You're going to get those 3 at pretty low ownership. So like, if the Flames go up early in this game, that third line is going to see almost the same minutes as the top line. So I'm in on Calgary 3. I'm in on Calgary 1, Calgary power play. On the Devils side, I know you're talking yourself into Jack Hughes again. I am on that line. If it's Sharangovich, Hughes, Bratt, that Trevor, like moving Trevor Lewis to that second line just isn't a shutdown line anymore. Like they're not. Like their expected goals against per 60 is over 2.5, which is over 10% worse than league average.
And it's really bad for that team specifically.
Yeah. And they're so like, regardless of me being a diehard Rangers fan, like Jack Hughes has arrived, whether I want to admit it or not. Jesper Bratt has arrived.
Yeah.
So I'm on that top line, assuming it's Sharangovich, Hughes, Bratt. They're going to get Coleman back on Lewis. That's the best matchup you're going to get on the Flames right now. So I'm in on Devils 1, out on all the other Devils, in on Calgary 1, Calgary power play, Calgary 3.
Yeah. I do want to start with the New Jersey top line, assuming, like you said, that it is Sharangovich and Hughes and Bratt here tonight. The reason I want to start with that line is because that line has been, pretty good for most of this year. In their sample together, 80 shot attempts for, 53 against, 60% of the shot share. 42 scoring chances for, 27 against, 61% of the shot share. They're scoring over about 4 goals per 60 minutes. Like it's not like what you mentioned with Hughes. The concern with him going into the season was that he wasn't finishing. That hasn't been a problem this year, especially alongside Jesper Bratt. They're scoring 4 goals per 60 minutes. Now, I do want to mention that it seems like since they moved Lewis to the second line, like they're kind of splitting the top shutdown duties with that top line. Like, so like it'll basically be like Calgary 1 and Calgary 2 against the New Jersey top line. But again, that Calgary second line has just been bad. 43% of the scoring chances when they're on the ice together. Like you and I talked about how when they took Mangiapane off that line, just anybody they put there, it hasn't been the same since Mangiapane was there. I think it's a matchup that can be exploited. I'm at least going to be considering some New Jersey 1 here tonight. Like I said, they like you said, they've been excellent so far this year, coming in. Like we have them at 0.6% ownership. That's with Dawson Mercer on the line because that's how they started last night. I don't.
Toronto just got traded to the Rangers.
Oh, did he? Oh man. That's actually a good pickup for them. Oh, for a 4th round pick too. Nice. Yeah, just getting back to that game. The problem, the thing with Calgary's top line, as you mentioned, is a decline in ice time. The second line hasn't been as good without Mangiapane there. So it is the Calgary third line that I actually kind of like the most in this game. They don't have a big sample together, but Ruzicka and Mangiapane, 36 scoring chances per 60 minutes in their sample together. And Toffoli and Mangiapane have similarly great numbers wherever they played. So I think Calgary 3 is a very nice filler here tonight. Mangiapane is down all the way down to 3,900 on DraftKings. We've seen him be over $5,000 on DraftKings before. Same thing with Tyler Toffoli. So, if you just want to 2-man those guys, I think that's fine. Throw in Adam Ruzicka. He's only 2,500. Like, if he gets an assist and a couple shots, like that's really enough. Or, you know what I mean? He doesn't really need to explode. So, that third line will see a lot of the depth matchups from New Jersey. So that's kind of the line that I like best from Calgary here tonight, is that third line. Again, if you want to go to that Calgary top line, I'm not going to argue with you. If I'm not mistaken, we have them projected for the most points on DraftKings for any line on the slate here tonight. Like that's, there's a reason why they're coming in 30% owned. So I will not argue with anybody going to Calgary 1, but I wrote up Tyler Toffoli and that third line in the Power Plays article. As the ice time has been spread out, Toffoli's getting consistently 15 minutes a game now, whereas, sometimes you get 12, 13, 14, sometimes 16. He's consistently 15 minutes a game now, and that's important for him and his shot rate. So Calgary 1, no issue using them whatsoever. Calgary 3 is kind of the line that I like the most on that side. New Jersey 1, Sharon Gobich, Hughes, and Brad, I'm at least considering them. I have to consider them here tonight because they're coming in. Any top line coming in under 1% ownership on a 4-game slate in any matchup warrants consideration. I'm not saying you have to play them. I'm saying you have to at least think about them. It's just the way it is at that ownership level. So maybe some New Jersey 1, likely some New Jersey 3, or Calgary 3, sorry. Definitely Calgary 1 is fine as a core stack. On the blue line, Noah Hannafin has seen a price drop. Whether Oliver Shillington is back tonight or not, I'm still looking through some of the notes. I see that Jacob Markstrom is starting, but that's all I've seen so far. If Shillington is out, I love Hannafin here tonight. He'd be one of my favorite defensemen on the entire slate. What do you think about this game?
I could have sworn I saw something this morning that said Shillington was out, but I'm not 100%. Even if he's in, I don't mind Hannafin at his price. If Shillington's out, I like Hannafin even more. You want to correlate Rasmus Anderson for the power play, 4,300 is a fair price for him. You want to dump down to Tanev at 3,100. I'd rather just find the 400 for Hannafin. On the Devil side, not much super exciting price wise with them, so I probably just look elsewhere.
I'm seeing from NBC Sports Edge Hockey, that came out right before we came on the air. It said Oliver Shillington good to go for tonight's game. I mean,
what do I know?
Yeah, I think Hannafin at 3,500 is still fine at that price. Just not nearly as excited as I was when Shillington was supposed to be out. Here at Awesemo, we have an Awesemo Hall of Fame where we do like to celebrate subscriber success, including the Daz winning the Fantasy Hockey Championship over the weekend. If you want to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, this is how you do it. You download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. You place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then you tweet those wins to the Awesemo Hoff account. You do all that, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You see D Dream Team 45 taking down first place PGA late round 1. Looks like nice hit by him. Iche 420 taking down second place in the 30K over on NBA 25 max for $1,500. Nice hit by him. You see a pretty good parlay, 5-leg parlay using the Fibonacci retracement method, which I haven't heard, I don't think, since third year finance class.
What?
Congrats to him. Jacob Pierce, JP Lee 23, looks like a chop of first in NBA Showdown. Congrats on that hit. And the NBA guys, of course, are crushing it. YJDG taking down first place in the 8K. Looks like 8K single entry for 750. So again, if you place in the top 3 of any contest with at least 5,000 contestants, just make sure you have the Awesemo avatar as your DFS avatar, and then tweet those wins to the Awesemo Hoff account. Coming up after us, college basketball, a little bit of college basketball talk coming up at 3:30 Eastern, the Fan Up College Basketball Show with Eric and Ben, 3:30 Eastern. Then at 4:15 Eastern, it's Locks Before Lock, our NBA prop betting show. That, of course, leads into our NBA double dose of the deeper dive and Live Before Lock. Finishing the day today at 8 p.m. Eastern, PGA Live Before Lock. So whether you're interested in March Madness, whether you're interested in NBA, whether you're interested in PGA, lots here at Awesemo over the rest of the day. Just click the alerts to get a notification when we do go live. And click the like and subscribe buttons if you guys haven't already, especially the subscribe button. Those subscriptions really help us out a lot. And I just want to shout out Yahoo Fantasy. They are our sponsor. You can get free money from Yahoo if you're a first-time DFS user. The links to that are below this video. All right, Josh, last game to get to. Tampa Bay, 3.8 implied goal total. They're going into Seattle. Seattle has a 2.2 implied goal total. The note here, Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov skating on the same line together. Hasn't really happened a lot, especially the last 2 years, considering Kucherov missed all of last season. They haven't played a lot together this year either. They do have a lot of historical success together, but again, that was a couple years ago. That's not 2022. Going into Seattle, Seattle's looked a little bit better of late. They have some line combinations that are playing well, but again, this goaltending has, more or less let them down the entire season. What do you think about this one, Josh?
I think Frank Vetrano is going to be really good on that Rangers second line. I'm going to come on the show just to Frank the Tank. Anyway, how to get that out of my system. First thing you notice about Tampa Bay was with Stamkos on the top line of Kucherov and Killorn. They're three wings at DraftKings. I don't know what they are on FanDuel. Like, for all I know, Stamkos is a defenseman on FanDuel.
Oh, hold on. No Mark Giordano. He's out tonight. Just saw that retweeted into my timeline. Oh, boy. Oh.
Big rig. Hayden Fleury. No, but I'm in on Tampa 1 here. It kind of sucks to fit them in on DraftKings because there's no center. So, I don't know, if there's really a 2C line or two centers that you like. The best 2C option is honestly Tampa 2. So, unless you want Tampa Josh Stack, I guess you could. I don't see why you can't on the slate. Just load in, Points, Cirelli, line 1, and Hedman. I mean, you could, but from a line making, from a lineup building standpoint, it's just tough to get in. I think the obvious person to leave off here is Killorn. So I think if you're trying to jam in some people here, going Kucherov, Killorn, or Stamkos, Killorn, is scary to leave off one of the big guys there, but I think it'll get you on a different track, especially if you're trying to jam in Calgary 1. You may be able to do it with Killorn. I haven't really messed around with it, but I think for me, I'm in on Stamkos, Kucherov. If you want to add in Hedman, I think that's fine. There's, you're going to just have to make a little bit different lineup by not having a center there. You're going to have to find a one-off center or something like that. So I'm in on Tampa here. Tampa 2, I think, is fine as well. I just prefer the top line for lower ownership. I just noticed that Tampa 2 coming in at higher ownership. I think you may see that. You may see just people going Point, Stamkos, Kucherov and calling it a day. So I don't know. There's plenty of ways to build lineups with Tampa tonight. And on the Seattle side, I don't know. I was kind of interested in Gord, but he's probably going to get that top line matchup, which is just not great. The thing with Gord is he's been consistently getting 18 to 20 minutes a night, which we just literally just talked about, with Lawson Krause. He's quote unquote on the fourth line, but he gets 17 minutes. Gord is on the quote unquote third line, but he's been getting 18 to 20 a night. He penalty kills. So even at 3K, I don't mind it because, I think he's had points in 6 straight, something like that, but he's also been blocking some shots, been shooting the puck, so don't mind it. The top line I think is fine as well. They're going to avoid the Kucherov line. They're super cheap, no ownership, but again, it just feels bad attacking Tampa at a 2.2 total at home, but it's a 4-game slate, so if you want to get a little weird, you got to consider everybody. So if this was a bigger slate, I'd just be yeah, no, I'm out on the Kraken, but 4-game slate, so many spots. There's only so many spots, so I think you just can't X anyone out just because they've been bad. And they've been playing a little bit better this year, so don't mind Seattle 1 as a filler.
So the thing about Seattle 1, just saw Jaden Schwartz not playing tonight, or at least not at morning skate. So Jonas Donskoy expected to be back in the lineup on the top line with Calle Yarncroc and Jordan Everly. does Donskoy instead of Schwartz kind of change your opinion here?
Every time I hear Junas Donskoy, I just think of the Lady Gaga song Judas. So I just Junas. I'm losing my mind. I'm so glad it's almost 3:00.
Okay. Yeah, I like with him out, there's just not really a line that I particularly like. Like, I don't want Appleton and Gore going into that Kucherov line. That second line for Tampa Bay has actually been pretty good together this year. I did like that Tampa 2 line until I saw the ownership at 20%.
Yeah.
A little bit too high for me. That line has been excellent. 3.2 expected goals generated per 60 minutes. It's really, really good. It's just really, really high ownership. So like, you're going to have to find a way to get different. I imagine you're going to see a lot of like Calgary 1, Tampa 2 and stuff like that. So I think for me in this game, it's Tampa 1 that I like the most, but like, I don't really like either side here a whole lot. Like I said, Seattle's been getting better defensively. Tampa 1 perfectly fine to use here tonight, but it's the only full line stack that I'd really have interest in on the Tampa side. Honestly, probably nothing for me from the Seattle side. If anything, it'd be Johansson and McCann, just because I think McCann's their best player, and they've actually played well together this year. So, getting second and third line matchups, maybe they can do something. So Johansson and McCann would be where I'd look on Seattle, but not too gung-ho on them. For me, it's Tampa 1 or pretty much bust in this game. I don't know what it's going to look like on the blue line for Seattle with Giordano out. On the Tampa side, yeah, I think correlating with Hedman, Sergachev's seen his price come down several hundred over on DraftKings, so I think he's back into a playable range there at 4,900. I guess like Hayden Fleury and Jamie Oleksiak would be of guys of interest on the Seattle side with Giordano. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Hayden Fleury, when he gets minutes, produces. We saw him on the Ducks last year when he got traded away from Carolina. When he was getting 21 minutes, he was a block shot bonus bot. So like, yeah, if Hayden Fleury's on the top pair getting 20 plus minutes, I'm in on Fleury. Jamie Oleksiak's find him in price. I think Hedman's an interesting one-off if you don't like Tampa. Like, you can't find a lineup that you like with the 3 wings there. I think Hedman's fine as a one-off. Sergachev's fine as a one-off. Chernak at 2,700 is fine. So there's options.
Yeah, I would say like Oleksiak and Susi might play like 21, 22 minutes here tonight. They're both under 3K. So yeah, there are definitely options here. All right, that's going to do it for us today. As I mentioned, college basketball, NBA, and PGA coming up through the rest of the day after us. Josh, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. My hat trick pick for tonight, one Ollie B, Oliver Bjorkstrand from Columbus. The goalies I like, I wrote up Elvis Merzlikins as kind of a cheaper goalie. I also like Cam Talbot from Minnesota here tonight. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like Talbot. I like both goalies in the Wild Bruins game. I like Merzlikins. I don't mind Anton Forsberg either. I think the Devils goalie is the one who I'd probably stay away from. Markstrom at 8,500 is fine, but like 85, I don't like spending up for goalies. My trick pick, maybe off the board a little bit here. I'm gonna go Matt Zuccarello.
Ooh, I like that. All right, Matt Zuccarello, Oliver
and Frank Petrano. I'm gonna go Frank Petrano.
Frank Petrano. Are your hat trick picks for tonight? Go and celebrate, Rangers fans. Finally got a decent winger to play with Artemi Panarin. We are out of here. We have a 10-game slate coming up tomorrow. So we will be back in 23 hours. But until then, for producer Mike, for a single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris, I'm Michael Clifford saying good luck tonight, everybody.